Hello there. This is Diving Deep. And for the longest time, we've been deep in the book of Numbers. Well, we're just about rounding out the book, and we shall be emerging very, very soon. But we're not there yet, so let's go. When we left off last time, in episode 14, we were in chapter 31, and we were reading through the division of the plunder. The Israelites had just fought a holy war with the Midianites, and they won. And they captured a lot of material, both in livestock and precious metals and jewelry. We hadn't finished reading through the entirety of 31, but it's not really necessary. It's just going into detail of what the plunder is. If you want to know what it is, you can read it on your own time. But let's now move to 32. Okay. 32. Now the children of Reuben and the children of Gad had a very great multitude of livestock, and when they saw the land of Jazer and the land of Gilead, that indeed the region was a place for livestock, the children of Gad and the children of Reuben came and spoke to Moses, to Eleazar the priest, saying, Atroth, Dibon, Jazer, Nimrah, Heshbon, Ilela, Shebam, Nebo, and Beon, the country which the Lord defeated before the congregation of Israel, is a land for livestock, and your servants have livestock. Therefore they said, If we have found favor in your sight, let this land be given to your servants as a possession. Do not take us over the Jordan. So, the tribes of Reuben and Gad are telling Moses, we want to stay right here. Now, keep in mind, these are, these are the new generation, the second generation of Israelites. There's been a census taken, and but it seems like, at the very least, they found a place for their livestock, and they're saying that they want to settle here. So, and they're asking Moses' approval for it. All right. So, verse 6. And Moses said to the children of Gad and to the children of Reuben, Shall your brethren go to war while you sit here? Now why will you discourage the heart of the children of Israel from going over into the land which the Lord has given them? Thus your fathers did when I sent them away from Kadesh Barnea to see the land. Kadesh Barnea, as you know, that's where it all went wrong for the first generation of Israel. That's where the 10 spies decided, nope, we're not going to enter the land. We have no chance of getting it, even though the Lord promised it to them. Okay. Verse 9. For when they went up to the valley of Eshcol and saw the land, they discouraged the heart of the children of Israel, so that they did not go into the land which the Lord had given them. So the Lord's anger was aroused on that day, and he swore an oath, saying, Surely none of the men who came up from Egypt from 20 years old and above shall see the land of which I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because they have not wholly followed me. Now notice something here. It says here, God swore to give this land to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He swore it would happen, with their descendants. So because he did that, it didn't just end with the first generation. The second generation would have the opportunity, and is it possible they could have failed and not believed? Yes, but I totally believe that God would not have given up on Israel, no matter how many generations failed, because He swore He would give it to the descendants, and He always keeps His word. All right. 12. Except Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, and Joshua, the son of Nun, for they have wholly followed the Lord. So the Lord's anger was aroused against Israel, and He made them wander in the wilderness 40 years, until all the generation that had done evil in the sight of the Lord was gone. And look, you have risen in your father's place, a brood of sinful men, to increase still more the fierce anger of the Lord against Israel. For if you turn away from following Him, He will once again leave them in the wilderness, and you will destroy all the people. So Moses, he's not very happy to hear that these two tribes don't want to step into the land. They just want to stay. Want to stay right here and graze. We don't want to concern ourselves with taking the land and going to war. We'll settle for this. At least that's how they're sounding. But let's see what happens. Verse 16. Then they came near to him and said, "We will build sheepfolds here for our livestock and cities for our little ones, but we ourselves will be armed and ready to go before the children of Israel until we have brought them into their place, and our little ones will dwell in the fortified cities because of the inhabitants of the land. We will not return to our homes until every one of the children has received his inheritance, for we will not inherit with them on the other side of Jordan and beyond, because our inheritance has fallen to us on this eastern side of the Jordan." So what they're saying, these men of Reuben and Gad, no, we will establish our homes here, but we will go in to fight. Yes, we will not make the mistake of our fathers. We will join the Israeli army and conquer the land, and then return back east of the Jordan, because we declare this is where our inheritance is. So, this is more or less a vow that they're making. And we all know vows are voluntary, but if you make a vow, you must fulfill it. You must keep your word. Okay, verse 20. Then Moses said to them, "If you do this thing, if you arm yourselves before the Lord for the war, and all your armed men cross over the Jordan before the Lord until He has driven out His enemies from before Him, and the land is subdued before the Lord, then afterward you may return and be blameless before the Lord and before Israel, and this land shall be your possession before the Lord. But if you do not do so, then take note you have sinned against the Lord, and be sure your sin will find you out." And that goes for anybody who thinks they can sin and just get away with it. You may get away with it for a while, but eventually it's going to find you out. Okay. 24. "Build cities for your little ones and folds for your sheep, and do what has proceeded out of your mouth." And the children of Gad and the children of Reuben spoke to Moses, saying, "Your servants will do as my Lord commands. Our little ones, our wives, our flocks, and all our livestock will be there in the cities of Gilead, but your servants will cross over, every man armed for war, before the Lord to battle, just as my Lord says." So Moses gave command concerning them to Eleazar the priest, to Joshua the son of Nun, and to the chief fathers of the tribes of the children of Israel. And Moses said to them, "If the children of Gad and the children of Reuben cross over the Jordan with you, every man armed for battle before the Lord, and the land is subdued before you, then you shall give them the land of Gilead as a possession. But if they do not cross over armed with you, they shall have possessions among you in the land of Canaan. Then the children of Gad and the children of Reuben answered, saying, As the Lord has said to your servants, so we will do. We will cross over armed before the Lord into the land of Canaan, but the possession of our inheritance shall remain with us on this side of the Jordan. So Moses gave to the children of Gad, to the children of Reuben, and to half the tribe of Manasseh, the son of Joseph, the kingdom of Sihon, king of the Amorites, and the kingdom of Og, king of Bashan, the land with its cities within the borders, the cities of the surrounding country. And the children of Gad built Dibon and Adaroth and Aroer, Atroth and Shophan, and Jazar and Jogbeha, Beth Nimrah and Beth Haran, fortified cities and folds for sheep. And the children of Reuben built Heshbon and Eliah and Kirjathim, Nebo and Baal-meon, their names being changed. And Shibmah they gave other names to the cities which they built. And the children of Machar, the son of Manasseh, went to Gilead and took it and disposed of the Amorites who were in it. So Moses gave Gilead to Machar, the son of Manasseh, and he dwelt in it. Also Jair, the son of Manasseh, went and took its small towns and called them Havoth Jair. Then Nobah went and took Kenath and its villages, and he called it Nobah after his own name. So they're conquering. So they're going in and they're conquering and claiming them and renaming these cities. All right. Chapter 33. All right. Verses 1 through 49 is simply a review of all the places the Israelites had traveled during the years after they were disqualified. Now, we're not going to read through all 49 verses, but you can tell that they got up and moved lots of times. It was lots of times. And even over a span of 40 years, getting up and moving this many times had to seem kind of redundant, don't you think? You know, it was just constant walking and walking and walking. And if you read, you'll discover that they passed through a number of previous campgrounds. You know, they went through the same area over and over again. It's like they went in circles, literally, for 40 years. And this was done to serve as a reminder. You know, they needed to remember, you know, what they left behind, what they threw away. That way they could prepare the next generation. You know, the first generation could still teach the next generation what not to do. And what happens when you don't trust the Lord and do as He says, when you don't obey what He says. You know, that was the ultimate purpose of all these travels of going in circles. Okay, so now let's skip ahead to verse 50 of chapter 33. Now the Lord spoke to Moses in the plains of Moab by the Jordan across from Jericho, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, When you have crossed the Jordan into the land of Canaan, then you shall drive out the inhabitants of the land before you. Destroy all their engraved stones, destroy all their molded images, and demolish all their high places. You shall dispossess the inhabitants of the land, and dwell in it, for I have given you the land to possess. Okay, so there's a huge emphasis on the destruction, the complete annihilation of the stone idols that the Canaanites worshipped, as well as their high places, because they're places of worship. That should tell you that none of these places of worship were set up to worship the God of Israel. No. They were set up to worship false gods, or gods that didn't exist, or perhaps gods that were actually demon spirits. Who can really say? But God wanted them destroyed, and we got to take inventory of our own lives. Any kind of idolatry, that we're clinging to, that we're holding on to. If we can't unattach ourselves to these things, we got to get rid of them. They can be TV shows, they can be songs that we just constantly have to listen to. It can be characters in movies, books. There are all kinds of things that we can just dismiss as harmless, and perhaps by themselves they're harmless, but if we make them more important to our lives than God, well, that's when they become harmful. So, God hates idolatry, yes, and He doesn't want any Canaanite idols making their way into Israeli society. All right, verse 54. And you shall divide the land by lot as an inheritance among your families. To the larger you shall give a larger inheritance, and to the smaller you shall give a smaller inheritance. Then everyone's inheritance shall be whatever falls to him by lot. You shall inherit according to the tribes of your fathers. But if you do not drive out the inhabitants of the land from before you, then it shall be that those whom you let remain, irritants in your eyes, and, listen to this, thorns in your sides, and they shall harass you in the land where you dwell. Moreover, it shall be that I will do to you as I thought to do to them. Oh, my goodness. It doesn't get any clearer than this. No. It says, if you don't drive them out completely, they're going to be irritants in your eyes, thorns in your sides, and what's more, I will do to you what I intended to do to them. Doesn't get any clearer than that. And underline thorns in the sides. Paul talked about a thorn in your flesh. Well, here, thorns in your sides are, I think it's much, some have called Paul's thorn in the flesh an illness, but here, thorns in the sides go much deeper than mere illness. These thorns in the sides are come as a result of being disobedient towards God and not doing what He says. That tells me these thorns in this, you disobey God, you're kind of inviting, demon spirits into your life. You're giving them permission to come in because you're not in submission to God. And if you're not in submission to God, guess who you're in submission to? The devil. Yeah. That's who you're in submission to. That's who you obey. And keep this in mind, we're going to be in submission to something, whether you know it or not. You may think you're high and mighty and that you submit to no one. That's not true. There's always something greater than you, that you will be in submission to. And it's either going to be God or it's going to be the enemy. And now getting back to Paul, the thorn in his flesh, if we can interpret the thorn in the flesh based on this, it was a demonic attack, that Paul was dealing with. He was being tormented. But God told Paul, my grace is sufficient. He's telling me, this thorn in your flesh may be attacking you, but by my grace, it won't kill you. It won't conquer you. Yes. Yeah, sometimes, we have to suffer. Sometimes God allows stuff like this to happen so that we realize we can't do it ourselves, and we just have to be in submission to Him. And if there's anybody who needed to be in submission, if there's anybody who needed to be humble, it was Paul, because he's the greatest missionary of all time. He wrote more than half the New Testament. That by itself would give you a big ego, wouldn't it? Of course it would. So God had to do things to keep him humble, so he wouldn't get puffed up. All right, chapter 34. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, command the children of Israel, and say to them, when you come into the land of Canaan, this is the land that shall fall to you as an inheritance, the land of Canaan to its boundaries. Your southern border shall be from the wilderness of Zin along the border of Edom. Then your southern border shall extend eastward to the end of the Salt Sea. Your border shall turn from the southern side of the ascent of Akrabim, continue to Zin, and be on the south of Kadesh Barnea. Okay, Kadesh Barnea will become their possession. Unlike their place of disaster last time, it'll be theirs. And then it shall go on to Hazar-Adar and continue to Asmon. The border shall turn from Asmon to the brook of Egypt, and it shall end at the sea. As for the western border, you shall have the great sea for a border. This shall be your western border. And this shall be your northern border from the great sea. You shall mark out your borderline to Mount Hor. From Mount Hor you shall mark out your border to the entrance of Hamath. Then the direction of the border shall be toward Zedad. The border shall proceed to Ziphron, and it shall end at Hazar-Enan. This shall be your northern border. You shall mark out your eastern border from Hazar-Enan to Shepon. The border shall go down from Shepon to Riblah on the east side of Ain. The border shall go down and reach to the eastern side of the Sea of Chinnereth. The border shall go down along the Jordan, and it shall end at the Salt Sea. Okay. Yeah, the Great Sea, the Red Sea, and the Salt Sea, which is the Dead Sea. This shall be your land with its surrounding borders. Then Moses commanded the children of Israel, saying, this is the land you shall inherit by lot, which the Lord has commanded to give to the 9 tribes and to the half-tribe. Notice, 9 tribes and the half-tribe. Reuben and Gad, they're settling east of the Jordan. That's their inheritance. All right. Okay. 14. For the tribe of the children of Reuben, according to the house of their fathers, and the tribe of the children of Gad, according to the house of their fathers, have received their inheritance, and the half-tribe of Manasseh has received its inheritance. The 2 tribes and the half-tribe have received their inheritance on this side of the Jordan, across from Jericho eastward toward the sunrise. All right. Now, this would not be completely fulfilled in the second generation with Joshua and Caleb. No, this eventually would come to pass through David and Solomon for a time. Yes, for a time. It'll be fully realized at the second coming. Okay, continue on, verse 16. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, These are the names of the men who shall divide the land among you as in an inheritance. Eleazar the priest and Joshua the son of Nun, and you shall take one leader from every tribe to divide the land for its inheritance. And then it goes, and then it goes on in a lengthy list of names that are the new generation of leaders. Okay, it's not really necessary to read through all of them, so we'll skip down to verse 29. These are the ones the Lord commanded to divide the inheritance among the children of Israel in the land of Canaan. All right, chapter 35. Cities for the Levites. All right. Now remember, the Levites, they are the tribe of priests. They are the priesthood that have been separated to the Lord for himself. They represent the substitute for all the firstborn of every Israeli household, as well as the first of their flocks. Yes. So, naturally, the Levites will get their own specific cities. All right, first one. And the Lord spoke to Moses in the plains of Moab, by the Jordan across from Jericho, saying, Command the children of Israel that they give Levites cities to dwell in from the inheritance of their possession. And you shall also give the Levites common land around the cities. They shall have the cities to dwell in, and their common land shall be for their cattle, for their herds, and for all their animals. Okay, the common land of the cities which you will give the Levites shall extend from the wall of the city outward 1,000 cubits around. And you shall measure outside on the city on the east side 2,000 cubits, on the south side 2,000 cubits, on the west side 2,000 cubits, and on the north side 2,000 cubits. The city shall be in the middle. This shall be to them as common land for the cities. All right, that's all the time we have for this episode. Join us next time where we will wrap up the book of Numbers. Until then.